Hello and welcome to the first episode of Crafting in Classic Plus, a series in which I hope to obtain all of the things that I can reasonably obtain in Classic Plus. So, let's get started by creating a new world. Will it be a huge world, original, in Classic, and Endurance? So, let's generate it. Oh, I already know a bit about Classic Plus, so I'm not going into this sort of blind. And the first thing that I'm gonna do to get started is to kill some mobs or some animals because a wave hasn't yet started. Once a wave starts, there will be some hostile mobs, which I'll be used to get a lot of points since I use my score to buy some these power-ups, which I want to get since they will help me in the future. And I want to get a lot of power so that I can. I want to get a lot of points so that I can freely switch the power-ups. But for now, I'll focus on killing these passive mobs. Since I get food from it, which I can use to heal. Just need to quickly check my controls because I can't remember what they are. So, a wave will be soon starting, and I also found some quartz, so I'm gonna quickly grab it and then find some books. And instead, won't be an special wave. There are sometimes like messages in the bottom left corner which tell you what sort of wave there will be. Now I'm just gonna look around to see if I find any style mobs to get some more points. And over there we've got some skeletons. I'm gonna try to kill them with some arrows. And now that they are dead, I'm just gonna collect the arrows that they shoot out when they die. And once I'm done with that, I'm just gonna heal myself with the food that I managed to obtain from the animals. And continue exploring so that I can get more points. I'm also gonna collect these gold webs since they'll be useful in the future. Ouch, that wasn't very smart of me to approach the creeper after it died. After all, as you might remember, creepers explode after dying in survival test. But anyway, that's not the important thing. The important thing is that I now have 1000 points, which means that I can get myself power up with regeneration. That's what I decided to go for, since I feel like it will make fighting easier for me. Since I won't need to worry about food, because I can just wait to heal after I fight, so I don't need to worry about that. But anyway, now that I've got the power up and I'm waiting for the wave. I'm just gonna get myself some more wool from these sheep. And also some food, of course, by killing them. And I will also get some wood from a tree, since that will be important. And the reason why I want to get wood is because once I have it, I can just press C and get myself a crafter like this, which I can then use for crafting all the things that are in this mod that you need to craft. And it seems like some slimes are spawning, so I'm gonna hunt them quickly. After the last clip, I've decided to watch the footage again and noticed that something strange happened, because I noticed that I was wrong about the wave, since there was a boss wave or something, since only mob spawn, which was a slime, which later disappeared, so I guess it spawned in the ground and suffocated. I guess that's because classic boss is kind of jank. Anyway. After that, I have wandered around a bit more, and I think I'll find myself a good spot for a base up on this hill of sorts. However, before I start working on the base, I'm gonna kill some more hostile mobs with more points. And as you can see, it seems like slimes drop some common mushrooms, because if you look at the bottom right corner, you'll notice that the amount that I have is increased. Anyway, time to have some more mobs to get some more points. Also, be careful when fighting skeletons close range, because as you can see, when they die, the arrows explode and they might hit you, which might hurt you, which will be kind of a waste of food. As you can see, the zombies have got a chance of dropping armor, I believe weapons as well, so I'm going to equip it now. You can see I got it in the bottom right corner, and I can equip it now, like so. You get some armor points which can protect me from damage. Like for example right now, I had 2.5 points, but I fell and that the amount of armor points got reduced by half of a point. So this can be used in a fight, like right now. You can see I got hurt this skeleton, but instead of losing health, I lost the armor points. But it seems that this fight might be a bit dangerous. I'm hitting 2 skeletons, so I gotta be careful and heal myself a bit. And just hope that I don't die. There we go. I just gotta hunt some more mobs. And with that, I've got almost 2700 points, which I think is enough. So I'm just gonna return to the place I've chosen as my base area, so that I can get started on actually crafting things in this mod. And here you just saw that the hostile mobs despawn once the grace period starts. Anyway, time to get back to the base area. And after a while looking, I managed to find the base area that I've chosen for myself. It took me a while because I actually have gotten myself lost. And I'm gonna start working on the base area by doing a bit of landscaping, so that I have a bit more space over here. So I'm just gonna take away some of these dirt blocks and also place some in so that I got smooth terrain here. And to make this a bit easier, I think I'm gonna get myself the haste power up since I got enough points for it. And I also have got like enough points remaining. As you can also see, the blocks in Classic Plus stack up to 99, unlike more modern versions or regular versions where they stack only to 64, like we were used to. Anyway, just wanted to show it, so I thought that was interesting. These stack sizes are very useful since you can't actually store any of your items in Classic Plus, so the only way to retain them is by just storing them inside your inventory, which is of course limited. And as you can see, I have finished doing the landscaping, and the reason why I did it is because I want to use this area as a sort of display to sort of show all of the items which I know how to obtain and which I can use for crafting. Just gonna start placing them. For example, I'll have a crafter displayed like this because I already know how to obtain it. I'll have a sandwell displayed both on top of book planks because I don't know which blocks I can obtain. This will make it easier for me. Of course, not all of the blocks which I have obtained can be actually placed on top of planks. For example, the saplings, which I'm just gonna place on a grass block, and also put some dirt above them so that it doesn't grow. Or, of course, not directly above them, because as you might know from Classic, placing a block above a plant will make it pop off. And here are all of the things that we have managed to obtain so far. Of course, they might not count the anti-graphics that I have managed to obtain since I got it when creating the world, but I still got it here. But anyway, before I start crafting, there are two things that I like to do. Firstly, there is something that I like to mention. You might remember that when I was mining the quartz, I got the crystal at first. However, when I mined some more, I got this ore. And here are all the blocks that I've managed to obtain so far. There aren't that many so far, but there will be more in the future. Now, before I start crafting, there are two things that I like to do. Firstly, mention something. You might remember that when I was printing the quartz crystals, I mentioned that they are important, and I'll now explain why. I remember that when I was mining them, I sort of got, well, when I was mining the ore, I got the crystals at first. However, later on I started getting the quartz ore itself. That's because these crystals act as soft touch. So when you are holding them, you just get things. When it makes normally, for example, when I mine this grass, I get dirt. However, when I hold this crystal and mine this grass, I get grass. I really didn't need to explain it since you are familiar with soft touch, but I just wanted to show it. And now the second thing I'd like to do is to obtain some more blocks, like for example this coal over here. There's also gravel which I can obtain. There's also iron, which I want to obtain, which I can also obtain of course in its ore form, and I can also obtain the coal in its ore form. Now, after the last clip, I've placed all of the blocks that I have gotten. I've also made this pillar to mark the location of my base area so that I don't lose it again. I've also put away some blocks so that I have more space in my inventory, and while doing that I've discovered something, which is that it seems that you can only pick up to 50 mushrooms, because if you look at the bottom right corner, I currently have the mushrooms selected, and there are some mushrooms right below me, where I can't them up. I haven't made them selected, I just wanted to highlight them. Anyway, I just thought that it was interesting, and now that I've shown that, I would like to explore the world a bit more and get some more blocks that I haven't gotten yet. I said I want to craft, but first I decided that it would be better to gather up some more blocks, like for example leaves and blocks, which I need to gather using the silk touch, because if I break blocks without silk touch, I just get the blanks. If I remember correctly, I don't need leaves for any recipes, but I do need the blocks for some recipes. And I also want the saplings, since those are used to make green dye. Not to make green dye, but to dye things green, just like similar to how you turn them into green dye in Def Plus or in Def Plus. I don't think I've mentioned it, but as you can see, mushrooms can also be found sort of underground, which may be useful. And here are some other blocks that I have, which are some corals. These are kind of interesting, because for example, if you break the coral block, the blue coral block with just your fist, you get a super sponge, which clears water in a large area, which means that if you want to have the sponge block, you of course need to break it using the silk touch. I don't think it's used in any crafting recipe, but I'm just gonna get some just in case. I think the purple and pink coral just drops itself. Then there's the red one, which drops lava sponge, which basically acts like a normal sponge, except it blocks lava. And there's also the yellow sponge, which is yellow coral, which just gives you a normal sponge. Anyway, I'm now gonna get some more and then search for some other blocks. I guess the water will stay this way forever. Doesn't seem to be doing anything. And here is another block which you don't have, which is a magma block. Seems like Herobrine is after me. I wonder where he is. It would be nice to find him and fight him. Seems like he disappeared, I think. I just looked up at the screen and there's the for next screen. Next wave. Not sure what happened. I guess too bad for him, and too bad for me, wasn't able to meet him. So, after that brief disappointment, I have returned back to my base area and placed down all of the new blocks that I have managed to acquire on my journey. And whilst doing so, I've also discovered something, which is that you can't place these red mushrooms, because if I right click with them, just eat them and get hurt, which means that they are just a waste of space. And now it is time to move on to crafting, which works differently in Plastic Plus than what you are used to, which we can see if I just right click this crafter, because to craft items, place blocks in specific orders on top of the crafters. These blocks will vanish as you still craft, and result of the crafting will replace the bottommost block. Of course, the bottom of this is a lie, because the result won't replace the bottom block. Instead, you'll get the block in a sort of item form. We'll try crafting cloth later, but an example of crafting are, for example, the crafting recipe of the oak slabs, which you get by placing two. I've got a spider behind me. Anyway, get the oak slabs by placing two oak planks on top of each other. There we go, got some. Just gonna display them here, and this is how you craft. Basically, just placed two blocks on top of the crafter. Seems like this combination doesn't give you anything, but basically, different combination of blocks give you different items. Like, for example, yes, I got a candle by combining a plank block along with a cobble block. And other slab recipes are of course the same. So for example, cobblestone slabs are just two cobblestone blocks on top of each other. So this means that discovering all the recipes means just experiment with the different combinations. So for example, I can try two logs on top of each other. That gives me a door, a log, and a plank. Plank on top of a log. I can't speak. A log on top of a plank. That gives me a fence. Oh, log, plank. I get a barrel, and this way we can just continue experimenting. And next up, I would like to try and figure out how to get the differently colored glove blocks. In my hotbar, I've got some items which can be used to craft the sort of primary colors. For example, the cup block, which can be used to dye things white, but I already have the white cloth. Then there's the gold block, which I believe gives some dark gray. There is, just like in Death Plus, where you can, I think, coal and bone meal gives you dark gray dye. Anyway, next up we've got violet from Tunias, grey with lilacs, red with a rose, yellow with a dandelion, and green with a sapling. And to also make things easier for me, I've decided to sort of place the material that you use to dye the cloth in front of the sort of display. That way I know to use to dye the different blocks, because from what I remember, the crafting in here isn't quite perfect. For example, if I remember correctly, if I craft a yellow cloth block and then combine it with red, I get orange. So I first use yellow, than red. However, if I first craft a red cloth block and then combine it with with yellow, I don't get orange, even despite the fact that I should. So this will complicate things a bit. Anyway, the next color combination that I will try is red and blue. I think that doesn't work. Let's see if blue and red works. And it doesn't. But I think light gray should be just dark gray with some combat. There we go. And I think now to continue, I'm just gonna try sort of the different combinations of sort of cloth block and the dye block. So I'm just gonna take a creep cloth, for example, and just start combining with the dyes. So this doesn't work, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, this doesn't work. And this case of cyan. Now we got rose and the second group. Anyway, with that I have managed to figure out almost all of the colors except for ultramarine, which is however I just don't know the recipe. Anyway, the system that I use for this is that I always took a color, combined it with all the dyes that I know of, and once I tried all the combination for that given color, I just went to that color and placed a sort of second block. That way I know which color I'm done with, and I ended up with these recipes which sort of represent how we are supposed to combine these colors. Basically the dye that is closest to the blank block is the first, and one that's furthest is the last. So for example, if I take the spring green, it's blue, green, white. So I just use blue, green, and then white, and get green. Anyway, now I'm just gonna walk by and show you the recipes. So if you are interested, you can just pause. And of course, you don't really need to, you don't want to, because I plan to sort of put together all the recipes once this series is over. Anyway, now it's time to move on to other stuff. Now, while crafting, I've also realized one thing. You might remember that not long ago I said that you can also dye blanks. While crafting, I've realized that I can't dye a blank block using a gold block to get dark gray blanks. It's because I get candle instead. So I was wondering how I could get around it, and I think I came up with a method. think that might work is to dye the planks white first and then dyeing them with a gold block. I feel like this might give me a light gray block, which I might be then able to dye further, or maybe dark gray block. As you can see, it gave me dark gray block, dark gray plank, which I can turn to light gray plank. So seems like things are fine. Anyway, now that I've done that, I'm just gonna collect the glove blocks and put some on the main display. Now, the next thing that I would like to try and obtain is the Mossy Cobblestone block. In Death Plus, you can obtain the Mossy Cobblestone block by placing some cobblestone in water and letting it get overgrown by moss. So I'm gonna try it in this mod as well. In the end that didn't work, so I guess the mechanic isn't in the mod, which means that I'll have to try and craft it. And I've been thinking about it, what the recipe could be, and I've come up with something, which is that when you think about it, Mossy Cobblestone is basically cobblestone with some freaking black matter, basically. So I thought about what sort of blocks could I combine with the cobblestone, and in the end the only ones I came up with were leaves and saplings. So I feel like those are the only ones that fit the description, aside from clouds, which I don't think that'll work. Anyway, time to try it out. But first, sapling. That doesn't work. Now the leaves. And that did work. So I'm just gonna craft 2 more to make some slabs. There we go. But anyway, that will be it for this episode. I feel like I had done enough. In the next episode I would like to do some smelting, since I haven't done any yet. Some more crafting, of course, and maybe some other stuff, depending on how the next episode goes. And in between the episode I will likely get up some more points and some more soft building material stuff. But anyway, that will be it for now. I'll see you in the next one. After recording the last clip, I have realized that there is one more thing that I would like to do, which is to show you all of the things that I have managed to gather in this episode. So, if you want to take a look, you can just pause the video if you're interested. But anyway, that's all I wanted to do. So that will be it for this episode, and I'll see you in the next one. Time for real.